You were never just anything to me." She shook her head. "Then why? Why force a woman who doesn't love you? Because you're the only one who doesn't worship me. You're the only one who looks at me like I'm nothing, and that drives me insane. You see the worst in me, and still, here you are." He took a sip of whiskey, eyes still fixed on her. "Why just buy you, Meher? That would have been far too easy. Too boring. No thrill at all. But watching you crack, inch by inch, watching that fire in your eyes flicker, your pride chip away like porcelain under pressure. Now that's a game worth playing. I don't walk away from a game I haven't won. And you were never just a girl. You were the prize. Walking away from you would have meant surrender. That's pure evil." And something inside her cracked, not out of weakness, but fury, pride. And then he walked out. "You want war, Aaryan Kana? Then I'll give you a war you'll never forget." I didn't turn anything. I stated facts. What the brand needs. What you need. What I need. Yes. He stepped closer and pulled her towards him. "And what do you need, Meher?" She smiled, a small defiant curve. Next morning, Aaryan's penthouse, 8:05 a.m. Meher emerged from the guest bedroom like a verdict delivered, dressed in a sharp beige pantsuit, hair pulled into a no-nonsense ponytail, lips matte, eyes razor-edged. Not a trace of softness. She didn't look like a newlywed. She looked like the storm that hits after the silence. At the breakfast bar, Aaryan sat like a king in exile, shirt sleeves rolled up, tie undone, black coffee in one hand, morning papers in the other. He didn't glance up. He didn't need to. "You're early," he said, voice flat as steel on glass. "You're late," Meher shot back, snatching a slice of toast with military precision. Her tone? Ice with a pulse. "You said 8 a.m. sharp. I don't intend to give you any reason to call it a breach of contract." He looked up now, slowly. The corners of his mouth tugged in something between a smirk and a warning. "So formal," he murmured. "Is this your idea of a honeymoon?" She crossed the room, hands tucked into her pockets like loaded weapons. "This is business, Mr. Khanna, just like everything else between us." He took her in then, every line, every angle. Not like a man undressing a woman with his eyes, like a CEO assessing a threat in a boardroom. "You clean up well, Mrs. Malhotra? Or should I say, Mrs. Khanna? Don't get used to it," she said coolly, already turning away. But at the door she paused, just long enough to make him wonder. "One more thing," she said. Voice low but lethal, eyes locked on his. "I don't mix personal with professional. So whatever happened last night, it stays out of the office. I'm here to work, not to feed your ego." A slow, dangerous smile stretched across his face like a shadow, creeping under a closed door. "Oh, Meher," he said, voice a purr laced with poison. "The office is my ego." She didn't blink, didn't even breathe. "Then consider me your internal audit." And with that, she was gone, leaving behind only silence. And the echo of war declared, Astro Project Boardroom, 10:45 a.m. The Astro Developers Boardroom was bathed in morning light, but the air inside felt anything but warm. A vast penthouse hall stretched above the city skyline, the walls sleek with glass and ambition. The long walnut table buzzed with voices, the shuffle of papers, and the low hum of coffee machines nearby. It was a regular Tuesday, but for Meher Malhotra, it felt anything but ordinary. She stood at the head of the table, her laptop projecting a towering image behind her. an abstract Indian canvas from the 1960s progressive artist group. Its chaotic colors cast restless shadows across the room. Before she could speak, the head of HR cleared her throat gently and smiled. "This is Meher Malhotra," she said, her tone warm and pointed. "Our new creative director. With global roots and Indian soul, she's here to bring Astra spaces alive with legacy, story, and style." A few polite nods, some forced smiles. But Meher didn't falter. She took a breath and let her voice carry, calm and clear. "I propose we move beyond the tired trend of European minimalism," she began. "Astra deserves something bolder, rooted. These works," she gestured to the screen, "are not just decoration. They hold emotional gravity, generational value." The silence didn't last. A scoff echoed from across the table. Sharp, deliberate. It came from one of the senior architects, white-haired, seasoned, and settled in his ways. "We're selling to billionaires," he said, tone edged with dismissal. "Not museum goers? No offense, Ms. Malhotra, but this isn't an art fair." A few chuckles followed. Nervous ones, unkind ones. Meher straightened her spine, her gaze unwavering. "It's not an art fair," she replied, cool but unwavering. "It's a legacy property. And legacy deserves more than forgettable catalog pieces. These paintings, they speak of rebellion, of silence, of chaos and courage. They don't just hang, they elevate." The architect rolled his eyes and waved a hand. "We'll revisit this later. Let's move on to the lounge sculpture. Number let's not." The voice was calm, but it sliced through the room like glass. Heads turned. At the far end, leaning against the wall as if he'd been listening the whole time, stood Aaryan Khanna. Charcoal grey suit, wristwatch catching the light, and the silence that spoke louder than most men's speeches. He stepped forward slowly, not looking at Meher, but not looking away either. "Ms. Malhotra's proposal stays on the main board," he said evenly. "If our clients can't appreciate curated cultural power, then perhaps we're attracting the wrong crowd." The boardroom went silent. The architect stammered a quiet apology, shrinking back into his chair. Meher didn't smile, didn't flinch. She simply clicked to the next slide on her presentation, like nothing had rattled the table. But something had shifted, not in the room, in the space between her and Aaryan. A spark? A shield? A leash? She wasn't sure, but she felt it. A pull. A chain. And it was tight. Executive Lounge, that afternoon, 4:16 p.m. The espresso machine hissed, a low growl in the marble and velvet quiet of the executive lounge. Meher stood by the floor-to-ceiling glass, the city glittering like scattered jewels below. Her reflection looked back, calm, poised, anonymous. Not a wife, not a pawn, just Meher Malhotra, lead curator for the Astra project, responsible for sourcing a collection of rare, era-defining artworks for Aaryan Khanna's next luxury masterpiece. The marriage, the contract, the deal. It was invisible here. And so was she, at least to everyone else. To him, that was another game entirely. She sipped her espresso, cold by now, but her fingers tightened around the cup. This silence, this charade, she'd agreed to it, but she wouldn't be a shadow in her own story. If Aaryan thought he could keep her bound in secrecy and still controlled the boardroom. He was in for a surprise. Just then, the heavy lounge door clicked open. Meher didn't turn. She didn't need to. His presence always arrived before he did, like tension wrapped in a tailored suit. Aaryan Khanna entered, his voice low and unreadable. "You didn't join the team lunch?" She took another sip. Wasn't hungry. He walked toward her but kept his distance, his gaze fixed on the skyline she'd been watching. The board was impressed. You turned the conversation. His tone held no praise, just observation. Strategy. Like she was another chess piece he'd nudged across the board. Meher turned then, slowly. Her eyes met his. No warmth. No fear. I didn't turn anything. I stated facts. What the brand needs. What you need. He tilted his head as if amused. What I need? Yes. She set the cup down with a soft clink. A legacy worth something more than imported furniture and lifeless white walls. There it was again. That flicker in his eyes. Pride? Possession? Or irritation at not being able to read her anymore? He stepped closer and pulled her towards him. And what do you need, Meher? She smiled, a small defiant curve, then leaned closer, her mouth almost touching his ears. Visibility. Voice. My name on the credits. My own narrative. For a second, just a second, his expression cracked. The cold control slipped. But then, she stepped back and didn't wait to see what replaced it. She turned, heels echoing across the marble as she walked out of the lounge. Not a curator, not a secret wife, just a woman, refusing to disappear. And Aaryan, he watched her leave, silent, still. But inside, the grip was slipping. Control was never permanent, especially not with her. Aaryan Khanna's penthouse, 8:15 a.m. The morning sun spilled like liquid gold through the tall glass windows of the Khanna estate's breakfast room. The air carried the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, warm croissants, and jasmine from the gardens below. Aaryan Khanna sat at the head of the long marble table, perfectly tailored in a crisp navy shirt, a silver tie knot resting like a sword at his throat. His wristwatch ticked to 8:17 a.m. He didn't check it again. His eyes occasionally flicked to the hallway beyond the glass doors. He'd said they could have breakfast together, brief, professional, civil. He expected her. He never said it out loud, but he expected her. She didn't come. Instead, a house attendant appeared, clearing his throat with the quiet decorum of someone used to Aaryan's moods. "Sir, Miss Malhotra left earlier for the office. She asked me to give you this." Aaryan took the neatly folded ivory paper. The scent of her perfume lingered on the edges, soft, floral, with a bite of pepper. He unfolded it. Aaryan, legacy is not built in conversations over buttered toast. It's carved in places that echo with risk. You'll find my proposal where it belongs, on your desk. See you at Astra. Meher. He let out a dry, humorless chuckle. She'd walked right out of his house and into his boardroom battlefield. Bold move. By 9:30 a.m., he was seated in his high-backed chair at Astra Art Division. His domain, his rules. And still, the phantom of her absence that morning clung to his collar like smoke. His assistant entered with a deep blue folder in hand, the Astra crest gleaming in gold. Miss Malhotra submitted a revised concept for the East Wing Gallery. She suggests converting it into a rotational exhibition space for modern Indian expressionism. There's a curator's note. Aaryan opened the folder. He already knew what it would contain. It was her voice without her presence again. Curator's note. Legacy isn't in steel or glass. It's in memory, in brush strokes and textures, in what people feel when they walk through the space. Let Astra be timeless. Monsieur Malhotra. He leaned back in his chair, the weight of her words pressing down like silk-lined defiance. That quiet rebellion, that audacious poetry. She was no longer his guest, no longer his acquisition. She was his equal adversary. Just then, a knock on the door. His assistant peeked in again. Sir, Miss Malhotra is here for the 9:30 review meeting. Shall I send her in? He didn't look up immediately. Then slowly, yes, let her in. The door opened and in walked Meher, her stride measured, confident, dressed in midnight blue like she was born for boardrooms and battlefields. There was no apology in her presence, no trace of the girl who once hesitated outside his world. She placed another copy of the proposal on his desk. Unnecessary, intentional. Good morning, Mr. Khanna. I trust you had time to read my note? He studied her, expression unreadable. Yes, he said, rising. It interrupted my breakfast. Regretfully or deliciously. Depends how the rest of this meeting goes. They stood on opposite sides of the desk, two storms circling the same center. The battlefield had changed. The game had begun. And Aaryan Khanna, for all his control and power, realized one thing with perfect clarity. He missed her at breakfast. Khanna Group boardroom. 11:30 a.m. Meher stood at the head of the boardroom, poised and composed in her midnight blue suit, hair flowing loose around her shoulders. Her presentation flickered on the screen behind her, sharp, confident, ambitious. Aaryan sat at the head of the table, in a matching midnight blue suit, expression unreadable, fingers steepled. This model not only captures the emerging markets digitally, but positions Khanna Group ahead by 2 quarters, Meher concluded. An older board member frowned. This kind of pivot is bold. Too bold, perhaps. You're still new here, Ms. Malhotra. Meher's lips parted to respond, but Aaryan spoke first. She's not new, he said, voice calm and cutting through the room. She's the reason we won't be obsolete. Silence followed. That one sentence shifted the air. Meher stood taller. The board voted, proposal approved. As she gathered her things, Aaryan didn't look at her. But when she turned to leave, he rose silently and followed. Private elevator, Khanna headquarters, 1:30 p.m. The sleek silver doors slid shut with a soft whoosh, locking Aaryan and Meher inside the mirrored cocoon of the elevator. Reflections bounced off cold metal, duplicating their midnight blue silhouettes. Him in a tailored Tom Ford suit, collar slightly open, exuding effortless command. Her in a silk blouse tucked into high-waisted pants, crisp, confident, and disarmingly poised. Together, they looked like they belonged in a power couple spread, if the couple in question hadn't been avoiding eye contact like it might set the elevator on fire. Even their colors matched. Fate, it seemed, had a flair for coordination. The silence was loaded. The floor numbers ticked upward, 12, 13, 14. Aaryan leaned back slightly, hands in pockets, relaxed. But his gaze wasn't. It was sharp, unwavering, dragging over the curve of her jaw, the tension in her spine, the rebellion simmering in her stillness. Meher, arms folded tight, tablet hugged to her chest, kept her stare locked on the elevator doors. His presence felt too close, too intense, too knowing, like he saw through her. And that was not okay. She broke first, voice clipped. "You didn't need to back me up in there." He didn't answer immediately. His gaze lingered, slow, deliberate, like a challenge. Then came the reply, low, velvet-edged. But I didn't need to, but I wanted to. Her breath caught, just barely. A flicker of irritation crossed her face, tinged with something else, something warmer, riskier. Before she could fire back, her phone buzzed in her hand. She glanced down. Zoe, heart, heart, heart. Aaryan's eyebrow lifted. That name and the emoji overkill were all the invitation he needed. With one quick motion, he pressed the green button and turned on the loudspeaker. Meher hissed, "News, really, not too late." Zoya's voice exploded through the speaker. "Is he with you?" "No, right. I didn't call for excuses, just listen." Meher flinched, angling the phone away, but Aaryan was already grinning. "Zoya, what now?" "It's my birthday this weekend and I've finally decided what I want." Meher sighed. "If it's another Prada bag, nope. I want you to bring Mr. Tall, Dark, and Chronically Brooding as my birthday present. Please, Meher. I'm so tired of seeing him in magazines. Let him see me for once instead of watching you the entire time, like on your wedding day." Aaryan tilted his head, intrigued. Meher groaned. "Zoya, I'm not... Oh, please." "You whine. Like you're cursed. Have you seen your bad luck? The man's walking testosterone in designer clothes and owns half of Mumbai. If that's a punishment marriage, where do I sign up?" A laugh broke out of Meher, sharp, surprised, traitorous. She clamped a hand over her mouth and turned, but Aaryan gently caught her elbow and drew her back again. "Zoya, not done. In fact, dear Lord, if you're listening, send me a rich, rude, painfully hot husband with a private jet and a tragic backstory. Amen." Meher was pink from ears to neckline. "I'm hanging up now," Zoya shrieked. "Don't you dare. Ask him if he's single on weekends." Click. The line went dead. The silence came rushing back, but it wasn't the same. Meher turned slowly. Aaryan was watching her, arms crossed, expression unreadable, except for his eyes. His eyes were pure mischief. "So," he drawled, voice like dark molasses, "a birthday request?" She narrowed her eyes. "Don't flatter yourself." "I wasn't." He stepped closer, lowering his voice just as the elevator dinged. "I was wondering what I should wear." She didn't answer, just turned and walked out, fast. Behind her, he chuckled. Software, amused, a little smug. And for the first time in days, her silence wasn't cold. It was blushingly, hopelessly defeated. Zoya's birthday surprise, Aaryan's penthouse, Friday evening, 9:30 p.m. The city sparkled below Aaryan's penthouse like scattered diamonds. Floor-to-ceiling glass walls framed the skyline, but all Meher could focus on was him, stepping out of his walk-in closet like a runway predator. Aaryan was dressed in an immaculate Tom Ford black suit, crisp white shirt, designer shoes, and cufflinks that could pay rent for a year. And that gaze. She blinked, stunned. "Seriously? That's your idea of low profile?" He adjusted the sleeves with calculated grace, like he had every intention of showing up to her best friend's birthday, like it was a Met Gala. "It's just a suit," he said smoothly, voice low. Meher narrowed her eyes. "No, it's an announcement. You walk into Zoya's party dressed like that. Someone's definitely going to propose. And it won't be me." His brow arched. "So what do you suggest?" A hoodie? She marched past him, flung open his other wardrobe, and in seconds pulled out a sleek, matte black sleeveless Balmain hoodie, tossing it at his chest. Wear this. Aaryan caught it midair, amused. You're styling me now? You wanna pass off as not a billionaire? Then stop looking like one. Wear that. With the black Dior trousers, lose the shirt, keep the edge. And shoes? Those Saint Laurent sneakers and... She rifled through a drawer and pulled out a half-face mask. Jet black, seamless, mysterious. This. He stared at the mask. Planning a heist? She folded her arms. Zoya's building has 3 influencers, 2 desperate single women, and her aunt who thinks a Rolex means engagement. You'll thank me later. With a slow smirk, he turned and walked back into the closet. A few moments passed. Then, he stepped out again. And Meher forgot how to breathe. The sleeveless hoodie hugged his form like second skin. The designer trousers sat just right. His hair was perfectly tousled. The mask covering the lower half of his face made him look like a villain, straight out of a fashion campaign. Effortlessly dangerous, disruptively handsome. Meher's brain short-circuited as she spoke in her mind. Oh, for God's sake, he looks like a damn fantasy. A very expensive, very illegal fantasy. He said nothing, just stood there, watching her from behind the mask. So, he asked, voice a smooth drawl behind fabric. Do I pass? Pass? You're the whole exam and the failing grade. Meher cleared her throat. You'll do. Just keep your arms to yourself. I make no promises, he murmured, brushing past her. Too close, too casual. Control, Meher. You are immune. You are. She followed him to the door, whispering under her breath. Completely doomed. Next morning, Aaryan's bedroom, 8:30 a.m. She slept in his bed, wearing his shirt, her bare shoulder exposed, the scent of last night clinging to her skin. Aaryan stood still, shirtless, wet from his morning swim, eyes locked on the one woman who slipped past his guard. Low, teasing whisper. So, you finally managed to climb my bed, Miss Khanna, he murmured, lips closed but didn't kiss. His smirk, dangerous, his eyes on fire, beat. But something happened last night. Subscribe now to uncover the secret that could ruin or bind them forever.